I got down to 3% body fat only by walking 1.5 miles. You don't want to jog. You don't want to be in an oxygen-deprived environment because fat can't burn in an oxygen-deprived environment. Mike Mentzer, long ago, he said that muscle is 18% protein, 75% water. So the only real way to get water into the muscle is through the...
And you go through 100 eggs a week?
15 to 20 a day.
So if somebody started intermittent fasting and just ate eggs, what do you think would happen? What it is, Brad Lee, back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. As usual, folks, you already know I got a real treat for you, especially if you're into Christmas, folks. I got the Rip Santa here. What's cracking?
Nice to be here, Brad. God, what a wonderful city. The people here are so nice. I walked the strip last night and probably met 50 people that came up and talked to me. So, wonderful city. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure, buddy. You want to pull that mic closer? You don't have to lean in on it.
Yeah.
There you go.
How's this?
You want to get it as close as humanly possible. So, folks, if you guys want to follow this dude, The Ripped Santa is all you got to do on Instagram. I'm pretty sure if you Google him, he'll pop up. The Ripped Santa, Bill Everhart, a man with a story, and I'm here to figure out what that story is. Number one, where'd you come from?
Well, I grew up in Toledo, Ohio. I moved to Minnesota with my dad in 73. Got comfortable there. It's a beautiful state. Politics is a little off, but it's a beautiful state.
You like it?
I like the South. I like the heat. Coming from a Santa, that I'm a little off, but I like the sun. The sun is helpful.
So what were you doing before the Ripped Santa?
I own a Carboni's in Inver Grove Heights. It's a franchise of 34 different stores. I love the product so much that I bought the company.
So it's a pizza store.
It's a pizza store.
Now, how do you get ripped eating pizza?
Well, I don't. Once I came back from my injuries, I decided to settle down to just eating about 8 different things. And I don't, it's a treat. I eat it on occasions, but I'm pretty disciplined in my eating.
Yeah, so we're going to get into that, folks. If you are a little overweight, a little out of shape, maybe you have some sort of disability. The Rip Santa travels around the country helping veterans, first responders, anybody who's injured and counts themselves out, but almost even mentally broken people. Yes. What makes you so passionate about helping those folks? Men over 40?
Kind of anybody, I mean, I was one of those. I was a pretty good hockey goalie and had a pretty devastating arm injury that ripped it up pretty bad. I had an Achilles injury that they told me I would have difficulty walking with a normal gait anymore, and I didn't accept that opinion. It was an opinion of men, and I refused to let it define me. So as I laid in bed for that 2 months, I studied whatever I could get my hands on to try to learn how to grow tissue and tendon and muscle and recover from it. And some of the people that I discovered, the Mike Mentzers, the Dorian Yateses, the Vince Girondas, the guys that truly changed my life, they're the ones that now I have wholly embraced, and I've had, if you put your goals down on paper, I fulfill them. 100%. Every single one of them.
That's a big promise.
The human spirit with God's help is you can do anything. I was written off. I was set up for a red handicap card, vulnerable adult. They have to help you by law was the response I got. And I just wouldn't accept that. I couldn't accept that. I wasn't ready to accept it, so I declined their offer.
Whose offer?
To be crippled. The doctors. They quit on you. They give you the bigotry of low expectations so that when you meet what they say you are, you feel like you've made it. They never tell you that you're going to be 100% better. And I'm 136% better.
What'd you do?
Well, like some of the other really great people you've had in this chair, I grounded myself through the grounding blankets. Or the grounding sheet or the grounding pad. The grounding blanket is what I sleep on. I don't use the pad. I take creatine and collagen peptides, the marine version, because it's absorbed 50% better. And I got to work.
Hold on, the marine version.
Yeah, there's 5 versions of collagen.
How can you tell if that's the marine version?
They're numbered 1 through 5 in the marine. I don't remember what number it is, but there's rooster, crown, and chin, eggshells, fish skin, bovine skin, and pig skin, and the marine version is absorbed the best, 50% better than the others.
Well, I take creatine and collagen. I just need to go home and figure out whether it's the marine version. How would I know? Would it say it?
Yeah. There's a picture of a cow or pig, or there's numbers on them. Sometimes they mix 1 and 3 together, but the marine version is about 50% better. So
okay, well, I didn't want to interrupt. So you take collagen, creatine, and you think is this the miracle that saved you? What was the miracle?
Oh, well, I would have to say that it was God's intervention and the training techniques. A lot of people, they train every day or 4 days on. I get a lot of that when they come to me for my help and say, I'm doing this or I'm doing that, and I'm just not getting any progress. And I say, take some time off. Every day you work out, you should take at least 2 days off. If it's legs, it should be 3 days off. But a lot of people, they way overtrain, and then when they don't get any results, they start asking the real questions. If you gain 1 or 2 pounds in 30 days, you need to change everything. I mean, most of my people, they gain anywhere from 7 to 30 pounds in 30 to 40 days. But that's with an egg diet. The eggs are 44% tissue in the body. It's a wonderful food source. It's the top food source. Bodybuilders and athletes, extreme athletes, they eat 10 to 20 eggs a day.
So eggs is the secret.
One of the secrets.
So the reason I'm asking is because, I eat eggs. I've just never eaten 20 in a day. Like, how many eggs a day am I supposed to be eating?
Well, it depends on what you're looking to do, but Vince Gironda, in the early years before Arnold started winning all of his Olympias, Vince Gironda has something called the 36 eggs a day diet. And if you can get to 180 grams of a 44% protein source, it becomes a DECA or dianabol steroid cycle. And you can put on 5 pounds in 30 days, even coming off of steroids. And that's what a lot of the bodybuilders that Vince was trying to do, is get them off of those substances and on to natural things. I eat a lot of tree nuts too, though, for the fats. Avocados, olive oil, tree nuts.
So how did you learn about all of the proper nutrition?
Laying in that bed, hoping to get better. The Achilles attachment and the shoulder reattachment. I was an invalid for almost 6 weeks.
Were you fat?
I was 196 pounds before my injuries. I'm 178 as I sit here at 5 or 6% body fat. So I lost a little bit of weight, but that, and even in these morbidly obese people that I train, the 500 pounders that lose 189 pounds, they eat 5 eggs for their first meal, and they eat 5 eggs before their sleep cycle. And the satiation that you get from those eggs also keeps you from the snacking. So the insulin response is kind of what sticks them into their fat gaining. Is every time you have an insulin response, the body's has to get rid of all the blood sugar. That's the only job of insulin in the body, is to keep you from burning any fat until the sugar is gone in your blood. So you can't snack, you can't drink pop, you have to eat structured meals, and then you have to have a fasting period between them so that your insulin can get low so that you can have a protein synthesis.
So maybe that's why I won my $50,000 ab challenge, because all I did was, and it worked, is I just started intermittent fasting.
Yes, it's a wonderful thing.
I didn't eat eggs. I just intermittent fasted.
Well, that drives your human growth hormone up, because when you're in your sleep cycle, your first and second dumps of your human growth hormone are spiked, and then you release human growth hormone until you break your fast or have an insulin response. So if you can fast more than 16 to say 20 hours, you can increase your human growth hormone 700 to 1200%. Now, your testosterone kind of drafts that a little bit, but the body is all set up to start burning fat. And after about 20 hours, you can get into autophagy, where you actually are getting rid of the degenerated cells that should be killed off anyways.
So if I'm listening to this right now and I'm a little overweight and I'm a little injured with, some sort of disability, walk me through exactly how I start getting past all that and getting back to 100%.
Wow, what a wonderful question. And this is this is going to dispel most of the myths in this is you need to wake up and hydrate your organs. So you have about an 8-ounce glass of water. Then you have some coffee. You got to have 8 ounces of coffee without any cream or sugar in it, so you don't have an insulin response. That depletes that makes you excrete all of the blood sugar that you have stored in your liver that puts out when you're waking up in the morning with your low blood sugar. You go for a walk, then the body has to come up with new blood sugar. Now, muscle turns and liquefies into energy in about 3 minutes. Fat takes about 3 or 4 hours. So you walk around the block and you don't eat for 2 or 3 hours. That allows the body time to burn that fat and get that fat on the bus to metabolize. You don't want to burn muscle. You don't want to jog. You don't want to be in an oxygen-deprived environment, because fat can't burn in an oxygen-deprived environment. So you must conversationally be able to walk, keep your heart rate low, and just go for walks. I got down to 3% body fat when I won my over 40 master's class at 58, only by walking 1.5 miles with my shepherds in the morning. No cardio at all.
You say with your shepherds?
Yeah, I have 2 black shepherds, Nala and Bishop, and I walk them every morning. It's part of my meditation in the morning when I'm fasting, to go for a walk and just take in the environment and the beauty. There's wonderful cliffs in Minnesota where the hawks and the eagles, they fly around, and off of those drafts, and Audubon people are out there taking pictures. So it's a great way to start your morning.
Okay, so I need to wake up, don't eat, drink some water.
Yeah, you got to wake your organs up. They're dehydrated, and the water kind of wakes everything up and expels that tired molecule that's in your system that you got to get rid of. And then the coffee dumps that excretes that blood sugar out of you. And
what about like hazelnut coffee?
I don't know if that has an insulin response. It has a taste. It's anything that requires insulin to stave. Insulin will not allow you to burn fat until all the blood sugar is gone. So a pop, a candy bar. The one that bothers me the most is when I see people in the gym, or they go to a gym and they're drinking a smoothie or something. And when you drink a smoothie, yeah, it's considered healthy, but that's an insulin response. When you pour it past your mouth, you're giving up 30% of the digestion. Your saliva glands help you digest. So when you pour that down your throat, it kind of considers it a sugary drink, because you haven't broken up any of those sugars or starches with your saliva. So you get an insulin response, and you get on the treadmill, and you're not able to burn fat because you've had the insulin response. So I would suggest not having the smoothie. If you're going to have a smoothie, you have to find a way to get some saliva into that, so that it knows that it's just it'd be no different than having a blizzard in the morning.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, see, I accidentally did this. No one told me. I started intermittent fasting. I wake up. First thing I do is guzzle 32 ounces of water. Okay. I want to be hydrated. I think hydration's undervalued like a son of a bitch. 85%
of people are dehydrated.
Yeah. So I wake up, boom. I don't know if it's 32 ounces. It's one of those big, tall, liter looking things. Mm-hmm. Not liter, but, the thin, taller ones. So I'll start swigging on that, go downstairs. Accidentally, I'd make a cup of coffee. And I don't even like black coffee, but I would do it because it curbs my appetite.
Yes.
So I wouldn't even think about it. I'd just have a cup of coffee. Then I head to the gym, lift some weights first, then I walk Like everyone's like, well, are you doing a lot of cardio? It's like, dude, I hate cardio, but I can get on a treadmill and walk and listen to an audio book. So I would go to the gym. I'd pick one body part, boom, pound it out like 5 sets of 5 and, decent weight, not heavy. And then I'd get on the treadmill and I'd just walk. And then I'd go home, obviously get ready, come to work. And next thing you know, it's 11 or 12. And I'm like, damn, it's almost time to eat. And then I wait till about 2 o'clock. And then I order some healthy food. Obviously, the healthier, the better. But I've also intermittent fasted without healthy food, and it still worked. So that's what I tell people that like hate dieting, eating, healthy food. I say, dude, eat whatever you want. Just do it in a window. Like you can have whatever you want. You want 10 Snicker bars? Eat them, but do it in a window.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And the next thing you know, dude, leaned out like a son of a bitch. But I was eating healthy. Bison. I'd eat 6 ounces of bison, half cup of rice, and an egg. And it was a fried egg too. And an avocado slice, half an avocado. And I'd just throw a little ketchup on it. Now see that ketchup, how bad is ketchup?
Oh, well, Ronnie Coleman was 0.33 body fat, and he put a ton of ketchup on his fries. So
how's 0.33 even? How do you live with that low of body fat?
I don't know, but that's how you get all of those Olympia wins, I guess. But he would eat damn near a basketball size amount. Yeah.
That's Googleable. Mm-hmm. He was 0.33 body fat, less than 1%. I thought you'd die if you get down too far.
You should.
You feel like it.
Yes.
How do you feel when you get down that low?
I'm good at suffering, but others in competitions and stuff will be laying backstage with their feet on pillows and recovering or trying to. I mean, you're damn near dead when you get on stage in the true professional bodybuilding shows. So they die right there on stage.
Yeah. So nobody wants to walk around like that. What's a good healthy body fat to walk around in?
7 to 10.
Anything over 10 and you're chunky.
Well, we need a certain amount of body fat just in general. I mean, women, that's one of the reasons they have such a problem losing weight is they have to carry 20% more fat than men just because they're the breeders. So it's very difficult for them to get down. But men, we can fast into it. It's just too lean it just isn't healthy. There's no excessive energy. The
lowest body fat that I've checked on myself, and I was in pretty damn good looking shape. I had abs, was 10.2. I've never been below 10.2 that I know of.
Well, let's get you there.
Well, again, I mean, I could have, if I'd have just kept going with the, let's say extreme, it wasn't extreme, but with the focused diet and whatnot, do you think time would have eventually made me less than 10?
Yes. Yeah.
So sometimes,
if you were walking,
sometimes just people don't go long enough.
Right. Okay.
So if you're listening and you're an injured disability, how does that regrow tissue?
How does?
Yeah. You said if you're injured and you have a disability and you want to get in shape, you wake up, you drink water, you have a black cup of coffee, and then you go for a walk.
Well, that's the fat loss.
What if they can't walk?
Movement, anything above sedentary. So if your heart rate is 60 or 64, you would want an 80 beat. You don't want to get near aerobics at 120 or 125 because once you flip that switch, you don't get it back. You're burning blood sugar and glycogen aerobically. You're burning fat conversationally or high oxygen environment.
See, so I was getting up to about 115 to 125 walking because I was doing 3.9 at a 6 incline.
Yeah.
So I should bring that down.
Back it off. It has to be
don't threaten me with a good time.
It doesn't have to be brutal.
See, I always think, man, I'm trying to burn that calories. Isn't it calories in, calories out?
For the most part, yeah. A lot of people ask me how many calories I eat in a day. And again, I go back to Ronnie Coleman. He never counted calories. He counted protein grams, carbohydrate grams, and fat grams. The caloric part of it, kind of arbitrary if you stay inside of those grams.
They call that macros, no?
I think, I'm not exactly sure on the macro part of it, but at 177 pounds, I get about 140 grams of protein, about 180 grams of carbohydrates, and 40 to 60 grams of fats.
Damn.
They say to eat, if I was 177, most people would say you got to eat 340 grams. I mean, it carries in the bodybuilding world that it's 2 grams per pound, and
if you want to grow,
and that simply isn't true.
I'm gonna have to agree with that, only because a lot of doctors and bodybuilders were telling me, you want to make sure your protein's at least 1 gram per pound. I wasn't anywhere close to that. Like I would say was max 100, because I'd only eat once generally. Because once you intermittent fast at 2:00, you eat, well, you got to stop eating at 8:00, and you're pretty full for the next 4 or 5 hours. So then you only have a little window. You might snack once, but a lot of times I didn't snack at all. And all I had was 60 grams of protein. And I gained muscle because I did DEXA scan. So, I mean, I gained muscle and lost fat, and I was not anywhere close to 1 gram of protein per pound. So you can grow, because my muscle grew and my fat deteriorated, and I was only doing 60 to 100 max. When I first started, I was trying to pound it.
Yeah.
Dude, it is very difficult when you're not eating a lot to get 140 grams of freaking protein.
Yeah.
Like a steak, just for people's knowledge, is right around what, 40, 50? Maybe good a big ribeye. Fat steak, 60. Okay, so now you have to have 2 steaks. There's 120. 3 steaks, 180. I couldn't get to 220. And I'm 220 right now.
Yeah, you see some of these guys, they eat 6, 7, 8 times a day. And, Mike Mentzer long ago, he said that, muscle is 18% protein, 75% water. So you don't really need to eat 2 or 3 times your protein level to get that 18% into the tissue. You just need to eat correctly. And his is mostly carbohydrates, because, it isn't protein hydrate and it isn't fat hydrate. It's carbohydrate. So the only real way to get water into the muscle and glycogen into the muscle is through the carbohydrates. So you have to feed the troops to keep them fighting.
Why keep the carbs low?
You can.
For some reason, when I start to consume carbs, I get fatter.
You do. But in that, the hydration, or the water into that 75% of that muscle cell is water. 18% is protein. So you gotta. Mike Mentzer did 60% carbs. I'm not advocating that, but that was his, and that's the true fuel for the muscle. I mean, even protein is broken down into sugars, but I mean, you could put on muscle eating Twinkies every day, but it's not optimal.
Okay, so you got injured, you're laying in bed, you started reading all this nutritional shit. You were laying in bed, so you weren't applying it. At what point did you get out of bed and start applying the stuff?
Boy, it was pretty soon out of the, I was still in my leg cast and my arm cast when I was in there, and people were in there saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be in here. You're going to overtrain your right arm and your leg." And it's the discipline. Motivation wanes. You can be motivated one day and not the next day, but discipline demands that you go. I mean, you don't question wiping your butt when you get done taking a dump. So you just don't question going to the gym. It's something that was put into me, and you always receive what you put it. The harder you work, the better you get paid.
Were you healthy before, or you never went to the gym before?
I was in pretty good shape. I was a mediocre athlete. I played 6 different sports. I was a mediocre athlete, but when you're talented, you can float by on broken pieces. When you're average, you work hard and you eat well and you practice and you can play with them. I didn't like watching them. I like playing with them. So I did the work that it required to play at that level. But then 2 surgeries later, you know, you gotta back off, you know. It's
So you got out of bed, you went to the gym, you started working out. How long before you started to adopt the ripped Santa thing?
That was the first bodybuilding show I entered on a whim. My nephew's business partner entered it, and he sent me a picture of him, and I sent one back in the same pose. And he was like, wow, you could give this guy a run for his money on the Natural Viking stage. Why don't you do it? And I thought, what the heck? You know, I mean, he was in great shape. He was 30 years my junior, and I thought, I'll see if I can stand on the stage with the greats. Did you take any tests, any supplements? No, I'm natural. The supplementations I take, my testosterone is anywhere between 435 and 680. So you know, I'm not massive on testosterone. I think it was Gary Brecka that said that testosterone's major job in the body is to build red blood cells and force calcium into the bones. It is a steroidal hormone, but I truly believe that, like we talked about with the intermittent fasting, you know, you at 48 hours, you're at 2,000% your human growth hormone level. So if you're fasting anywhere from 16 to 18 hours, you know, you get to 700 to 900 range in human growth hormone. You factor in either cold plunging or saunas. I take 12 to 14 saunas a week, and you unlock those heat lock proteins and cold lock proteins. Those are stem cellular. So you get extra stem cells. That's 32 different organs in the body that a stem cell can react to. So it's optimizing, you know, the grounding. I fully believe in that. Feet into the ground, looking into the 7:30 to 10:30 sun when it's the blue light. That blue light pineal into your brain is an activating light. You can't get sunburn, and it's the healing light. So all of my people, they do these things, and they optimize.
So at some point, you just started helping people that were injured and over 40 and mentally broken, and
they would look at me and say, I'll never be that. And I would ask them why, and they'd tell me their injury or their story. And then I'd tell them mine. And, you know, I mean, between the arm and the foot and 6 weeks apart in the surgeries, a lot of them had just given up because of the diagnosis, not because of the reality. So I would say, train with me, because I need training partners. It's the extra reps, those negatives and the reps that you force yourself to do, or the growth reps. I would have them be my training partner, and they would pull me through my repetitions that I couldn't achieve by myself. And then I would pull them through the repetitions and then explain the workouts to them. And like Abdi, Lokman, all of these gentlemen, they're willing to give. You know, a lot of people aren't willing to suffer to get the results. But when you're given a catastrophic diagnosis and you're at the end of the rope, you got to tie a knot and hold on. And so I'd come alongside of them, and a lot of them after 30 or 40 days, they were so fixed that they would go on their own. And all of a sudden it would get out that, hey, this guy helped me. He looks like Santa Claus. And pretty soon people that couldn't speak English, you know, Ukrainians, Egyptians, Somalians, they'd all come in and ask, Santa, and they would point me out. And it became this thing that after I left my pizza shop and it closed, I would go from 10:30 to 2 in the morning to a 24-hour gym and train these people to help them out. And it got to be quite a following. But once they're healthy, I leave them on to their own so that they can transform other people's lives, so that I can take on new people. Because you don't need to train somebody for a year or 2 years. You just need to train them for 30 days, maybe 3 cycles through this regimen. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And you weren't charging them.
I charge nobody. I think that's why God enters the equation. You know,
so if there's somebody out there right now listening to this and they need your training, they want your training.
I'm here.
And they reach out. You don't charge.
I don't. In fact,
I refuse. Folks, that's what's crazy is most people, they jump on the show so they can talk about their product or their brand so they can make money. Bill here said, dude, I don't charge. So I'm like, well, brother, then I'm going to definitely get you on, because the Bomb Squad, you know, buys a lot of shit and pays for all kinds of guests things because, you know, they hear something they're interested in. In this case, there's nothing really to buy. You just reach out at the Ripped Santa, tell them your story, ask for the diets and the workouts and the whatnots, and boom. The key is to follow them, though, because your information is not going to do shit unless somebody takes action. Because that was my excuse for a long time. Like, I hung around bodybuilders like since I was 17. My buddy won like the Emerald Cup up in Oregon, and you know, the steroid. They were all doing Test and Deca and Anavar and all that shit. I never really did it because I never really got into bodybuilding. But, you know, I watched and listened and learned. And so where I knew what to do for a long time, I just wouldn't do it. What do you say to those people? Like the people that just hate it?
Another really great question. You know, steroids are more a recovery agent. You know, I reached back to Vince again. You know, he would get these bodybuilders off of steroids and they'd still gain 5 pounds. The guy was 60 years ahead of his time. You know, if you're in the world of professional bodybuilding, you basically have to take steroids. I mean, Ronnie Coleman finished 9th until he started taking steroids, and then he finished 1st. So, you know, it's kind of like Miss America not wearing makeup and thinking that she's going to pull it off. At that level, you have to. But most people, in the natural bodybuilding world, you're lie detector tested and then you're P tested if you win. So the accountability is there. That I would enter the natural shows because I didn't want anybody that had cycled or cheated to come against me. So
you call it cheating?
Yes.
Why is it cheating?
To use steroids?
Yeah.
Because you're going outside the body's ability to regenerate.
Isn't that called supplementation?
7,000%. Well, you know, I mean, poison is the dose. Poison is in the dose. You know, I mean, 13 water bottles will kill you, but it's very good for you. So if you put 5,000 times your body's testosterone level, I mean, if you have a Clydesdale level of testosterone running through you, the poison is the dose. So if your body gives you 2,000% of human growth hormone, it can't toxify itself. But if you inject it like the Liver King, it's a dose, and the poison is in the dose.
So, but you would say that's cheating.
Yes. Well, and not on the stage of the IFBB and in the places of professional bodybuilding. No, that's what it takes.
But they're all cheaters.
Well, you know, but if everybody's doing it, then the people that aren't doing it are at a disadvantage. So cheating, I don't know. I think what it is the aesthetics of professional bodybuilding has come to the point where they want the Hadi Chopins and the Nick Walkers and the Ronnie Colemans, the genetic top of the line kind of freak look, you know. I mean, they call it
there is a too big, but
CT Fletcher says you can't get too big.
I'm trying to figure whether I agree with your cheating definition, only because cheating to me is negative. And if someone said they took steroids to get where they're at, I wouldn't necessarily call it cheating. I would call it cheating if no one else did and you did.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call it cheating just because you accelerated recovery. Because if you ask me, a lot of those steroids, especially testosterone, all it does is help you recover faster.
Sure. Yeah.
So again, take steroids and don't work out and tell me if anything happens, because the answer will be nothing happens, right? I did testosterone for a while and didn't work out. Nothing changed. I didn't look good. Nothing changed. But then I started working out. Well, then it changed. Well, why? Well, because the testosterone helped me recover quicker and rebuild faster. It didn't help me rebuild. It helped me rebuild faster. So in other words, when normally it would have taken 3 days to see that regrowth, and I'm just making this up, so all these experts that are listening, don't fact check me, but now I can recover in a day. So now, boom, 3 days later, I'm already, recovered 3 times where someone else would have just finished regrowth, where I just, I'm 3 times faster. So to me, is it cheating? Kinda. I don't know.
Well, I'm not in the testosterone replacement therapy. I don't consider cheating. So testosterone, I don't consider that a cheat. I mean, that's like saying a person with diabetes that takes insulin is cheating. I mean, if your testosterone levels, your hormone levels are off, you must be hormonally regulated. It's a good thing.
But like take a car, for example. If you create more gas because you're low on gas, you add more gas. Is that cheating in a race?
Fuel cells in NASCAR? I mean,
but it's not cheating. It's really not cheating. You're just adding more gas. Now, if someone forgets to put in the gas, they're stupid. So to me, if I were over 40 especially, and I go get my blood work and it was as low as yours, I'd freaking go boink, and I'd get right up to 1100. And if someone said, hey, you cheated. Cheated how? Because I'm smart enough to supplement what my body's no longer creating. And by the way, we still don't know if it's good or bad.
Oh, I believe that testosterone replacement therapy is a wonderful thing. They're not a healthy male. It can be in the 830 range, and that's, you can supplement up to that. I mean,
any higher than that? No.
I know people that are 1,300. I know somebody that was taking testosterone replacement therapy as a teenager, and he was at 1,900.
That's a little high.
Yeah.
But when people ask me, I say, right around the 1,100 mark. Why?
That's a good number.
Well, because that's the top of the range.
That's hot. Yeah. And that's good, though. I mean, you want to be optimized.
That's adding the gas. It's adding the nitrous. It's just supplementing. It's not necessarily cheating, because if you're not working out and you're taking a pill in a competition, well, that might be cheating. But dude, do steroids and don't do anything and nothing happens, which means it's not the steroids that's doing it. So if it's not the steroids that's doing it, well, then how's it cheating? Well, it's accelerating the regrowth. It's the working out that does it. You cannot get away from doing the work. And so to me, if I'm doing the work and you're doing the work and I supplemented and grew 3 times faster than you because of this. Now, again, if the rules are you can't and you do, that's cheating, period, because the rules are you can't. But there's no rules in my mind to health and optimization. The rules are what? Be healthy. That's the rules. Well, do you think somebody on testosterone is healthier than someone who has low testosterone?
Yes, I think they're much healthier.
Yeah,
bad hormones, low hormones. I mean, some women, they have super low amounts of testosterone, but I know some women that go to women's clinic and they have to have ovary patches to introduce testosterone into their system to make sure that they have a waning of their the hot flashes and things like that. All that goes away when all of their levels are normalized.
Do you think that's messing with God's work?
No, I think there's endocrinational issues, diet issues.
But that's all God's work.
Yeah, but it's our interpretation and free will. If you eat 13 Twinkies instead of 13 eggs, you shouldn't expect my results.
Yeah, but I mean, let's because I know you're faith-based. So let's go. I want to talk a little bit about, God. Because sometimes one time I was offered to come to Costa Rica or go to Costa Rica and get stem cells. And, it's probably a $20,000, $30,000 thing. And they're like, we won't charge you. Just post it while you're here. And I didn't really want to go because nothing's wrong with me. What if I went down there and messed with God's favor, God's work, and as a lesson, it would have changed something about me? Because I don't have any pain. I don't have any issues. Now, if I had pain and issues, absolutely, I'm going to get stem cells. I believe in stem cells. Do you?
Absolutely. In fact, that's the whole reason, well, half the reason I do the sawing is to release those heat lock proteins. Same with the cold lock.
But if you had an injury and someone said, hey, I'll give you, a billion stem cells to repair that, would you take them? Or would you release your own?
Boy, the hot seat. I'd probably take the help.
Absolutely. That's the whole thing. People are like, I know a buddy of mine, he's like 400 in his testosterone level. And he says, do you think I should do it? I'm like, well, it's up to you, but I would.
Yes.
I would. Why wouldn't you? Well, because again, it's supplementing. Why do you take vitamins? Why do you take creatine? You're supplementing.
Yes.
Why don't you go out and find some leaf that provides it? Well, I don't know. I'm just taking my supplements. To me, it's supplementation. Until you get to the Winstrol and the frickin' Anavar and Tren and shit like that.
Well, those are the ones that I'm talking about.
Okay.
The testosterone is that's a steroidal hormone the body produces also.
All
so
right.
it's not. I don't consider that a steroid as an introduction of outside.
All right. Well, we're back to square one then. I agree. Okay. I thought you were talking about tests because I take tests.
No, not at all.
I take tests and I recommend people go get their blood work, and if they're low and they don't feel good every day, then they should try it because if you ask me, we don't get to live very long. Period. Why not live your best life?
Yes.
And why wait until something happens and now you're old and you can't move and you're just wound down and then you take steroids? It's like, dude, your muscle deteriorated all that way. Your energy, your libido, everything freaking shifted, and you waited until it was dire. And now you expect it to be as good as it would have been had you just started.
Yeah.
So you got out of the bed, you started helping people. Next thing you know, you started getting a little following. Next thing you know, people are coming to you, and now you don't charge. You're just out helping people. You take a lot of your own personal money, and basically invest it into helping people that were counted out, injured, down, mentally, physically, and get them back to feeling good and running like a cheetah.
Yes.
Why?
Because I was one of them, and it's.
Did someone do it for
back
you?
For them. I just, the disaffection, especially working with the military guys, they get injured like that and they consider themselves 60% a man, or I'm half the man, or they lost an arm and I don't have the courage to kill myself. I mean, one of the guys even said that to me, and it's like, how do you walk away from that? Out of the 30 people a year that I'm able to deal with in these conditions, I mean, in the last 2 years, it's been about 64 of them, but there's been about 4 or 5 of those 30 in each one of those groups that said they didn't have the ability to kill themselves. I mean, I had to do this. I was called to it. I mean, I can do it, therefore I will.
So explain your day. You wake up, what do you do?
Well, I get up around 6 o'clock. I have my coffee and my water. I get the dogs in the car. I take them for about a 1.5 mile walk. I center myself. I get my grounding in and my peace. And then I head to the gym. I either train myself or I train 2 people. When I'm working out, I can train 1 person with me. When I'm on a rest day, I take on either 2 people or 3 people. And I train from 8 to 10:30 in the morning. Then I go back home. I eat. I'd walk my dogs after the workout to get the lactic acid out. I head to the pizza shop about 3 o'clock. I work till 10, and then usually until last year, I'd do 10 to 2 in the morning training the people that came to me. And I'd go to sleep about 2 and wake up at 6 for the last 2 to 3 years.
Do you think sleep is important?
I do, but I like I said, I can't. I can't let these people suffer. It's worth my time.
Why do you get so passionate about it?
I know what it's like to be in that spot, and you give up. The doctors are telling you to give up, to settle into your new life, and that's not reality. So it's unacceptable to me. So I'll give up my time. I'll give up my sleep.
So do you think you'll be doing this the rest of your life?
No, I got maybe 2 years, a solid 2 years that I can do this. It's unhealthy for me to be in this condition, to be this lean, but I have to show them it's possible. I have to show it, because that's when I get the responses in the locker room, and they say, I'll never look like that. And it's untrue. So that's the God, hard work, and eggs. That's the first shirt in the Grandfather 2.0 line was God, hard work, and eggs, in that order. I mean, they'd look at me and say, how do you look like that? And I would say God, hard work, and eggs, in that order. And that's the shirt that they would wear when they train with me.
Why eggs, though?
44% of an egg is tissue in the body. A pack of wolves kills an animal. The alpha female eats first. She eats the brain, the heart, the liver, and the kidneys. She doesn't eat the protein, the meat. She eats the minerals. It's eggs. She won't eat that carcass if she sees eggs. Every creature eats eggs. It's the essence of life, like a tree nut. So I truly believe those two things are the impetus to building muscle.
So if somebody started intermittent fasting and just ate eggs for 60 days, what do you think would happen?
Well, there's some gentleman on the internet that ate 700 eggs in a month, and it transformed his life, and that's more than I eat. I eat 130 to 140 a week. He eats 700 in 30 days.
Did you have eggs today?
Yeah, I had eggs across the street at La Cafe Vegas.
Well, is there any special way to prepare them?
No.
Does it matter if they're fried?
Well, the one thing that I would say about eggs and the way you make them is, if you are to scramble them, don't scramble the yolks with the whites. It's like steaming spinach too long. You take the yolks out and you bring the whites up to almost cooked, and then you reintroduce the yolks and bring them up to tackiness, so that you keep you keep all of the carotenoids, the antioxidants, and polyphenols, all the stuff that's the good stuff in the eggs. You don't want to cook out of that yolk.
Now, see, I didn't know that. We should have started with that. Folks, you guys want to learn how to cook eggs correctly? If you're cooking eggs like this, you're doing it wrong. That's social media training. See, like that's what you'd want to say for the hook. People are like, how? Because, dude, I just scramble eggs. I thought, I don't want to fry them because there's oil and crap in there, and I want to be healthy.
Yeah.
So I just, crack 3-4 eggs in there and whip. You're saying don't do that.
No.
Scramble the egg whites until they're almost done, then reintroduce the yolk.
And when they're getting white, when they go from translucent into white, then you can start to reintroduce the yolks. You just don't want to overdo the yolk.
You want the yolk a little runny?
Yes. Or tacky. You just don't want to. You don't want it that super yellowy white mixed in with the whites. It's just you've cooked it too long.
Do you see the eggs that are like really orange versus the other ones that are like yellow?
That could be the species of the chicken. What you really want is, they have cage free, they have caged, they have free range. You gotta be very careful with the wording of that. The difference is just in how many feet the chicken has to move in. So what I try to do is I get a lot of my eggs from people that are selling them, that they have turkeys and chickens, that still have the feathers and a little bit of the blood on them and stuff. Those are the ones that are out eating wood ticks and grubs, and you can still get those even right now with egg prices the way they are. I'm buying my eggs for $4 or $5 a dozen.
Where?
Just from people with a lot of chickens. They got to, in essence, get rid of their eggs. If you got 40 chickens running around, you got a lot of eggs.
Yeah, but nobody's out in the middle of bumfuck Egypt.
Well,
I wish I could buy kick-ass eggs like that for $4 a dozen.
I hear you're kind of out in the desert, so I don't know how many chicken farms you got around here, but yeah, I pay an extra $1 just because they eat wood ticks and
But,
parasites.
but I'm talking about you go to a store because not everybody's out in the country or wherever the hell. Are you out in the country?
No, I'm in the cities. I just
What city?
Inver Grove Heights, just south of St. Paul.
Yeah, see, Inver Grove. What's the
56,000.
population? 56,000.
Yeah,
It's decent size.
Yeah.
And there's egg farmers around.
yeah. Well, a lot of my delivery, I deliver out to some of these people, and there's a guy, ex-trooper, who has about 130 chickens out on Abigail Court that pays me, gives me 4 dozen, just here and there. A couple other people give me 3 or 4 dozen. Tommy Carboni, the franchisee guy from Carboni's Pizza, who I bought my franchise from, I call him the alien. He's the only guy to ever put me in the hospital on a training regimen. But he has 10 acres, and I get about 6 or 8 dozen eggs from him.
And you go through 100 eggs a week?
I eat anywhere from 15 to 18 to 20 a day, yeah.
Every day?
Most days.
What
I don't
else?
compete anymore. When I competed, I would absolutely at least eat 20 a day.
Aren't you sick of them?
Well, greatness doesn't go on sale. It costs what it costs. So when they say you're crazy, okay, but I do what others don't, and I expect what others can't. So I just do it.
Do you have special recipes to help make it a little bit more enjoyable?
No.
You do them the same?
I go between scrambling. When I competed, I would cook 60 at a time and make 10 6-egg meals to kind of help me on that. Now I do them over easy, 4 of them on 2 slices of 2-gram keto seed bread.
Bread makes it a hell of a lot easier, does it not?
A little bit, but it isn't full-on bread. It's only 2 grams instead of 17 to 24 a slice. It's 1 gram net.
Yeah,
It's
but
brown.
still, dude, something crunchy.
Yeah.
It helps.
Yeah, it does.
Because, dude, I hate eggs all by themselves. I don't mind a couple of bites, but, dude, eating 18 eggs would
It's kind
be...
of soupy.
It would I scramble them firm, so I mean I'm doing it wrong. But even then, it's like I have to always like struggle trying to pound them down. Like I it's rough getting through 6.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to count protein. So I'm like, dude, I got to get at least 6 eggs. And what is there, like 3 grams per egg?
5.
5 grams per egg.
Mm-hmm.
So most people will be like, well, just let me use some toast with that. That makes it.
Or sop up the yolk when you're done to finish
Yeah, but
it
there's
up.
no toast. You shouldn't have toast, and if it is, it's the keto toast.
No enriched bread. It's a folic acid stuff, and Gary Burkus.
And if you were
speaks
eating that many
massively on
eggs,
that.
what else were you eating?
I was eating sweet potato. I would cut up a potato like Ronnie Coleman did and take a normal potato and slice it into French fries and then bake it. That would be my egg, my non-toast on my carb days is the potato with my eggs, but only a half of a baked potato.
You think if people reached out to you in your DM, you'd shoot them like a meal plan to get them ripped?
Oh, I every meal plan that I've ever put together for people, including Justice Heeg and Judah Heeg, exceptional wrestlers, all of those eating plans, and he went to the Olympics or the Pan Am Games. All of these eating plans are on the Facebook for Rip Santa. I eat what they eat what I eat. It's the recipe, and we don't deviate from it.
Well, for everybody listening, you would go to his Facebook group, The Ripped Santa. You can follow him on Instagram at The Ripped Santa. How else can the Bomb Squad help Bill?
Well, I have a Grandfather 2.0 at that Rip Santa site that has a merchandise page for the over 40s. It's Grandfather 2.0. And then I have some sayings and some Rip Santa shirts that I put on my people just so that God can enter their body. It's something that when I give them the gift of that, God can help into the equation. So I have some clothing that I try to sell. When I train these people and they want to give back, I just tell them to approach it that way. The mouth guards and all of the other thing that's on the merchandise site, just to kind of break even so that they don't have to pay me. But Grandfather 2.0 is the clothing line side of it. And I would suggest if you start working out, you get a mouth guard, because mouth guards keep you from cratering off chunks of your teeth and fracturing your teeth.
Or are you lifting that heavy?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, they bite they bite down on their teeth and they fracture pieces of their teeth off. A tooth is $5,000 in a year to get it put back in your head. By the time the post gets in there and you get the crown and all of that, but a $8 mouth guard just keeps all of that in place.
So the Bomb Squad, if they wanted to support you, would not only, follow you, but go get some merchandise is what you're saying.
That would help me carry on the free training for all the people that I do. Yeah, it would.
What's your number one selling shirt?
It's somewhere between God, hard work, and eggs, and we do what others don't to expect what others can't.
And what if somebody has a saying? You should have a saying contest. So everyone DMs you a saying, and if you pick that one and put it on a shirt, you do something.
What a fabulous idea.
Yeah. Because I'm starting to think, as you're saying shirts, I got to think funny shirts. Like a Spanish version of the one you have on. I put the Mass in Christmas. I put the Moss in Christmas.
I love it.
Moss is more. I'll come up with some.
Yeah.
Folks, listen, this dude is a good dude. He's out there helping veterans, people that are injured for free. He'll help you for free. Go follow him, hit him up, share his episode, share his posts, and let's get this dude the attention he deserves. I appreciate you coming in.
You're very kind.
I think, if you got a couple more years left in you, let's blow this dude up so he can freaking help a hell of a lot more people. In 2 or 3 years, you're just going to sail off into the sunset, or are you going to get fat again? What's the plan?
Plan is, I'm living my best life every day. So whatever happens. The 2-year frame is I'll allow myself to get to the 10 to 12% body fat. That's for sure.
Are you writing a book?
I thought about it. I really did. I thought about the angry pizza guy's plan for working out or something along that line. I think there's a lot of myths in bodybuilding and muscle building and nutrition that a lot of the fine people that have sat in this chair have informed even me on. It's a constant thing. I'm 59 now. I just turned 59 April 5th, and I'm constantly learning from all of the people. From Jason Young at Young Quest Fitness Center, 98 Mr. Minnesota. He was gracious and taught me posing, and so many people have come alongside me and given me their information that I don't want to quit. 2 more years after 3 in would be 5. And if I can put some people in place to help me to carry the torch, I would be all right with it. But the heavy lifting, I think I got another strong 2 years. I can do 22 and a half hours a day for another 2 strong years.
There you go, folks. If you're out of shape, if you count yourself out, if you're mentally broken, physically broken, and you got a little tiny bit of inspiration out of this podcast, reach out. Get him in the DMs, start doing the action that it takes, the work that it takes to get back going 100, or in his case, 136%. If not, man, just support this dude so he can change some lives. Appreciate you coming in.
Again, thank you.
Folks, as always, till next time, keep it real.